So here's why I like trading options over trading anything like crypto or Forex, coming from somebody who's actually traded crypto and Forex. If you didn't know, normally the goal is you start from zero and you pick a take profit, right? A TP, and you wait for it to hit the TP and then you make your money, right? That's the way trading normally goes. With options, on the other hand, when you sell options, not just trade options, because I don't really buy options, I sell them. But when you sell options, the opposite applies. So you start with your profit and you go backwards. Now, I'm going to show you an example of that just so you can see. So here is SoFi, which is the only stock that I'm using trading the wheel on this account. And you can follow the journey by following me on this channel. You can see every single trade I take with SoFi, and later on, if I ever use a different stock, I'll do that also. But here's my transactions. And if you can see the highlighted area in yellow, right? I sold a SoFi call for $30 on November 13th. And I automatically get paid $119. As you can see, it says a plus 119. On November 21st, about 7 days later, 8 to be exact, I bought out that contract for $6. So that's $113 gain in 8 days, right? Which, if you do the math on that, and I'll put it on the screen, that's 3.76% in 8 days. Now, a lot of you might say, that's not a huge return, right? But a 3.76% return in 8 days is huge, and I'm explaining to you why. Here are the returns for the S&P 500. I'm talking about the top 500 companies. And in November, which is when I took that trade, the S&P was in the negative. It did negative 0.33%. And I did 3.76% in 8 days. That's not even counting what I did after that, which I didn't do that math, and maybe I'll set that for another video. If you see in the screenshot, the very next call on November 21st, I made another $45. So that brings up that 3.76% to a little more, right? But we're not going on off of that right now. We're just going off that one transaction that I did in 8 days. Here's a visual chart of what the S&P 500 did for the whole year of 2025. As you can tell, in November, it was a negative 0.3. And there was only 3 months in which the S&P 500 did more than 3.76% for the month. I did that in 8 days. And this is why I like trading options. Because options, that's technically not the goal to be trading. Technically, you're supposed to open up a position and wait your contract time, 30 days, whatever. But sometimes the stock moves in the opposite direction. Like if you do it correctly, let's say if you're selling puts at the bottom of a Bollinger Band, which I'll get into that in other videos, but if you're selling puts at the bottom of the Bollinger Band and then the stock takes off and goes up, that's the opposite of what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to buy it at a discount and the stock went up. So what happens there is that your contract actually gains value, right? Because now you're further away from having to buy the stock. Back on this screen, when I opened up the $119 contract, I got paid the $19 up front. That was already in my account. But like I said, with the insurance company, we have to earn that. We have to wait to renewal, which in this case would be the expiration. So on November 13th, I opened the contract for November 28th. And I closed it on November 21st. So I closed it early. And like I said, I had a return of 3.76%. If you do it correctly, most of the time that's going to happen. And you can close it out early. You don't have to wait to the expiration unless you actually want to sell it, right? You want to get rid of the stock or whatever, then you can sell, and let it sell at $30, like you don't really have to do anything there. But this is what happens, and this is why I love trading options, or I should say selling options, because when you say trade, that includes buying and selling. I don't buy options unless I'm buying out a contract that I already sold. If you like this and you guys want to follow the journey, make sure you follow and like this video. And I'm going to try to grow this account as far as I can. I started with $3,000 and we're going to see how far we get.